The new channel. The new channel. Hashtag TNC Now.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following shows are those of the host, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the new channel. Our passion transforms a community channel that sees all things new. My name is Nuya, streaming from Cavite, Philippines. You're watching the Disruptors Hour on TNC. We're thrilled to have you here and can't wait to deep dive into the dynamic and ever-evolving topics of leadership, change management, transformation, innovation, and of course, disruption. Whether you are a seasoned leader, a change maker, or someone who is passionate about making a positive difference in the world, we want you here. This show is aimed to be engaging, authentic, informative, and most importantly, inspiring. Our show is designed to help you grow your leadership skills, navigate change with confidence, drive transformational innovation, and harness the power of disruption to create new opportunities for success. Our expert guests share valuable insights, strategies, and best practices that will help you excel not only in your personal but also professional pursuits. However, before we dive into today's conversation with our guest, a quick reminder from our partner organization. See you in a few minutes.
Scientists and policymakers around the world are well aware of humankind's current trajectory towards the devastation of its only and precious home, planet Earth. At unprecedented rates, living species are going extinct. Glaciers and ice caps are melting. Air pollution worsens, and we keep piling up plastics and trash in our oceans and rivers. It's easy to feel overwhelmed and discouraged by such a disheartening trend, a battle that greed, consumption, and unwavering ambition seems to be winning, leading all of us to an extinction-level event. Most efforts over the last 50 years to reverse climate change have failed. Governments at the national levels prioritize local politics and vote-winning initiatives. Companies are designed to exceed profit expectations in order to survive. International institutions are often bureaucratic and biased, and social media has often done more harm than good. The clock is ticking, and key universal indicators point to the need to substantially revert the trend in the next 7 years to avoid the point of no return. So how can we turn this ship around? We must wake up and come together in effective collaboration to jointly get out of the mess we've gotten ourselves into, for the many millions of lives at stake, for the benefit of us all. World System Solutions, WSS, is an NGO with a vision to unite, mobilize, and align humanity in common purpose to solve the climate crisis. WSS offers educational and climate change awareness workshops, guided by profound ethical and spiritual values, and a conviction that through consciously choosing to collaborate, we can reach our personal and collective potential, and synergistic cooperation to reverse the climate crisis and reach harmony amongst ourselves and with our planet. WSS intends to help humanity arrive at the collective agreements and aligned intentions necessary to attain global sustainability. We're building Phoenix, the first comprehensive technology platform to boost humanity's collective creative efforts to build a better world from the ashes of our past choices. Phoenix will radically accelerate global collaboration and innovation. It is designed and built with the guidance of ethics-based collective leadership, fully committed to serve all human beings equally and the planet as a whole. We're already developing Phoenix's first module, Climate Scale, aimed at mitigating greenhouse gas emissions by offering a one-stop shop for all carbon and methane credit projects through a platform that will reduce the risk of greenwashing and unify and supercharge the now fragmented efforts happening around the world. It will also facilitate access to the latest data and expertise, bringing together leaders, researchers, experts, projects, and resources to mitigate the greenhouse gases emissions challenge. We can change. We can do this together. Whether you're a youth activist, a committed politician, a generous philanthropist, a visionary transformational champion, an innovative project leader, or a sustainability expert, come and join the WSS team and be part of the solution the world needs today. For our planet and for the future of all living species and our very own children.
The world transformation process will affect all of us, and every voice is relevant as we move the needle on climate change and environmental protection in the next 5 years. You are a vital piece of the puzzle. Our collaboration will be the thread that weaves together the fabric of our efforts into a harmony quilt for the planet. There are several ways to interact with the team of World System Solutions, including donation and collaboration opportunities. You will see there flashed on the screens the links that you can copy for later use or click on. We are counting on you. On to the show. Today, I am happy to welcome to the Disruptors Hour Attorney Gino Jacinto. Attorney Gino Jacinto is a man of many talents and interests. He has worn many hats throughout his career, from practicing law to working in the corporate world. But one thing has remained constant: his desire to accomplish something entrepreneurial and be a tech entrepreneur. Prior to Unawa, Attorney Jacinto held the roles of Chief Legal Officer and Chief Business Development Officer for several other startups, both in the Philippines and Singapore. Before entering the legal tech space, Attorney Jacinto was the head of legal for a multinational import and distribution company. His extensive knowledge of the company's vision and growth, despite not being one of the founders of Unawa, is a testament to his deep involvement with the company. Thank you for joining us this Thursday, Gino.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Our pleasure. As someone who has held various roles in startups and the corporate world, can you cite some of the most significant legal and business challenges you encountered, and how did you overcome them?
So let's go straight to it. Yeah. So again, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the time. So to answer your question, the challenges for the most part are what any other entrepreneur, businessman, lawyer would face. It's really making a mark in the industry and trying to get your voice heard in the space. In particular, now with the space I'm in with Unawa, one of the bigger challenges, and I think it's often a challenge for most tech startups, especially those that are pioneering the field, is to really encourage and allow the public to embrace this new idea, to divert from the norm and take on the new technology that's available to us. So it's that element of convincing people to try something new that's often the most challenging, but at the same time, often the most rewarding.
Thank you for sharing that. Every change is scary, right?
Of course.
All right. So can you share with us your journey that led you from practicing law in the corporate world to becoming a tech entrepreneur, and your journey to Unawa? What inspired
Yes, of course.
this transition?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. So again, I am a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for the better part, well, a little more than a decade now, actually. And like most of us here in the Philippines, we transition from space to space. The normal course is really joining a law firm, entering into litigation, which I did as well. So I started my career in litigation, then on to corporate litigation. And as you mentioned, I jumped up into the corporate world, acting as the head of legal for a company before
Mm-hmm.
I moved into the tech space. So I suppose being around, the environment we are now, the time we have, tech is driving almost every industry, and that was a gap we noticed, that the legal field, especially, and
Mm-hmm.
legal matters, is not necessarily outdated, but I would say it's time for proper improvement. So, answering that call, Unawa is looking to make a more impactful change, both in the legal field and for the Philippines and the globe in general, actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And can you please tell us more about Anawa's mission and vision?
Yes, of course. Thank you. So, at Unawa, our goal is to digitize the entire document lifecycle. And as simple as that might seem, we take it a step further by ensuring
Mm-hmm.
legal compliance and the legal validity of your documents and the processes along the way, to really allow people to embrace these new technologies, to stray away from paper. And of course, very timely to your show sponsor, I believe, our product also aims to reduce, or at least not, excuse me, aims to reduce with the ultimate goal of eliminating the need for paper, especially here in the Philippines, where paper is the second most used physical waste, solid waste product, excuse me. And of course, as
Mm-hmm.
we discussed offline, all the inconveniences and hassles of the physical document life cycle is
Mm-hmm.
starting to catch up on people, and I believe people are noticing that. Um, hence what we do, and people embracing what we do, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I really appreciate that because a lot of people in different industries would be able to relate that there are a lot of paperwork that we have to do. And I have been in the human resource and organization development space before. And even if we were trying our best to create a paperless environment, there are still a lot of things that we cannot do without paper. For example, submissions to the legal offices, requirements, right? So I really look forward to a time when the Philippines will be digital and we can just submit, for example, a flash drive that we can submit to legal offices, and that's it.
Yes, I share your frustration. Obviously, coming from the legal practice, my reliance on paper has been excessively heavy, from the fact that we have to photocopy multiple versions of the same document. It really does pile up, and
Mhm,
it becomes a bit cumbersome, and not to mention quite costly. People don't
mhm,
realize all the costs that attach to paper use, not just the actual the cost of the paper stock and paper reams, but the printer, the maintenance, the storage space. We've noticed over the course of our business, people don't really take into account how much space is really needed for storage, and of course that translates to pesos as well. You are essentially
yes.
a section of your office, depending on the size of your enterprise, could really have a very extensive library, a physical library, which again, in this day and age, is always good to find these cost saving measures. So the move to digitization is going to be very helpful in in that aspect. However, something that has to be made a little bit more clear is that with digitization also comes inherent risks, particularly fraudulent documentation,
Mhm,
manipulation of the documentation, because there are other platforms. Even
mhm,
simple things like Photoshop, you can change the entire consideration of a contract, for example. So just because you're digital doesn't mean it's necessarily safe. So what we're trying to
mhm,
do is add these bits of technology, these security features, these measures to ensure confidence, not just in the courts, the business space, but even to every individual, that doing a transaction digitally, especially with a system like ours, ensures the document validity at every step of the way.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, that's very good because it gives people the confidence that they can entrust their important documents and be sure that it cannot be forged. So how does that work?
So as I mentioned earlier on, Unawa digitizing the entire document lifecycle. So what does this mean? Imagine every stage of the document we try to get involved in, from
Mm-hmm.
creation to storing to sharing,
Mm-hmm.
retrieval, even destruction, and even the signing process we've taken a stab at to make sure that each aspect imbues confidence on the user and the people using the document. Importantly, a lot of the time, it might not be considered that your documents have validity beyond the signing, beyond the execution, especially if you need to call it back. So, as you would imagine, in your case, an HR professional back in the day, that will pile up. So
Mm-hmm.
even the simple aspect of looking for the document, tracing it back, it can get quite cumbersome. So
Yes, that's also
so
frustrating.
yeah, so with a system like ours, you're no longer shuffling through filing cabinet shelves and libraries. You can search for any document just the way you would on the internet. So I think
Mm-hmm.
actually I forget to mention, one of our products focuses on items like that, specifically the digitization of your old physical documents. So
Mm-hmm.
as we know, the Philippines is still at the cusp of going fully digital. It might be some time before we do go fully digital, but what that tells us is there's a long backlog of enterprises and industries that have been
Mm-hmm.
very paper based for quite some time, which means they have a very extensive library. They have multiple rooms of documentation. So for you to move forward, you also have to remember the past in a way. So our system allows you to digitize all of these documents in a way that makes them usable, it makes them valid, and we all security features to ensure that it is considered a valid digital duplicate of your original.
Yeah. And if I may digress a bit, you mentioned that this one helps with the storage, right? I remember that there was a time when we had to ask a, some of our employees to resubmit their documents for the 201 files because there
Okay.
was a big storm and it entered the building. So storing digitally will also help you protect your
Absolutely.
201 files and all your important documents in case of force majeure.
Yeah, obviously there are a lot of instances of force. Excuse me. Pardon. As we discussed again offline, the season lately has been quite rainy. And the dangers of that on the document library is actually perhaps overlooked. People don't really take it into account, but one leak could destroy years of records,
Yes.
and that would really disrupt in a negative way your field. So having
Mm-hmm.
it digitized embeds a certain confidence that all of your important matters are secure and
Mm-hmm.
accessible at any time. I think that's quite important, especially, for example, in your example where you ask your employees to retrieve some files. Should that happen again, that won't be necessary anymore because you have that all on record and easily accessible. I think that's quite important. You can find a document. In fact, with our system, you can find a paragraph in a document of thousands and thousands of documents in a matter of seconds. So that component of searching, that headache of going through mountains of paper, not to mention all the hassle of perhaps like the alikabok, all of that, all silly things maybe, but it's all eliminated with processes like this.
Yeah, you can imagine that people were not so happy when we had to ask them politely to resubmit their documents, especially those people who have been with the company for close to 10 or 20 years, and they may not have stored a second copy of those documents, and they had to reprocess. So
Yeah,
that's very beautiful. Yes, Gino.
no, I was going to say, at least in your example, these documents are retrievable from the other parties. But of course, there will be some documentations in a company that the only copy is already in the library. Perhaps there are not enough redundancies, or back in the day, perhaps a redundancy is to have a photocopy of the document in another
Mhm.
room. But the risks of room one are the same risks of room two.
Yes.
So yeah, there are inherent dangers to paper. It seems not just the environmental impact, but on the operations of any business.
Yeah. And for now, what are the tedious administrative tasks that are being automated by Unawa?
Okay, so if I may backtrack a little bit, Unawa, again, bears mentioning, is digitizing the entire document lifecycle. So what this means is our platform first is enterprise agnostic. We've built it in such a way that it can fit any business, any industry, and it's also able to cater to individuals as well. So you don't have to be a company. You can stand to benefit from this if you're a freelancer, a sole proprietor.
Mm-hmm.
All of that is possible with the system. And again, in terms of automation, again, speaking offline, there are a lot of things that have to do with the filling up of a document, the transcribing. That does take a lot of time. It's these little aspects of the document cycle that proves to be cumbersome and delaying. So with a system like ours, through the incorporation of AI, machine learning, your documents are now able to be filled automatically. For example, in for our HR kit, let's stay
Okay.
within the HR realm.
Mm-hmm.
Internally, for our leave forms, our HR director only gets involved upon approval, for example. So the
Mm-hmm.
system will automatically populate all fields for the employee. They don't have to fill up the leave form to that extensive detail. All they have to do is select the leave form. Having an account within our system will populate all the entries. And then importantly, it calculates your leave credits, for example. So if you have 12 within a year, you've used 5 and you're applying for 7, depending on how
Mm-hmm.
you set up the rules within your own enterprise, the system will either deny outright, no longer hassling the director or the HR head, leaving this
Mm-hmm.
person to do the more important things, the invaluable duty of really taking care of the employees rather than the administrative ministerial aspects of the job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this one covers, you cover contract management, also employee benefits, right?
Again, so our system is purely
End to end.
adaptable. It's adaptable. So
Mm-hmm.
we can enter any enterprise, any industry. We have things commercially available off the shelf. However, what we're also very proud of is we're very receptive to requests for customization per
Mm-hmm.
business. So if you do your workflow, if you create a workflow in your own way, if you have your own process that obviously we cannot be aware of, we will engage with you, we will discuss with you, and build the system around your existing workflow as not to disrupt what you already have going on. Rather, use technologies like ours to complement what you're doing, to assist with what you're doing rather than, and I'm sure you can imagine with all of these big platforms, when they
Mm-hmm.
come into a business, it changes everything, which
Yes.
might be more of a deterrent for
Mm-hmm.
accepting these kinds of technologies because established practice gets thrown out the window. And of course, employees or the managers that are used to this, not a big fan of that kind of change. So we try
Mm-hmm.
to mitigate all of these changes by allowing that level of customization to your specific needs.
All right. So if I understand it correctly, you allow integration to the existing CRM that companies use.
Yes, of course. So we do also realize that a lot of enterprises, especially the longer running ones, have their legacy systems in place. They are
Mm-hmm.
used to it. It's already part of their system. So rather than disrupt their flow that much, we do offer incorporation to that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, wonderful. All right. So when we come back, we will talk more about Unawa and your role in Unawa and in the legal tech space. But for now, Gino, let's take a quick break so that also our viewers can stretch their legs, perhaps take a light snack. So, dear viewers, I hope that you're learning a lot from our guest today, Gino Jacinto. And in the interim, please reflect on what you have learned so far and how it can benefit you personally or professionally. I'll see you in a few minutes. The new channel is an online alternative new media platform of online shows for people on the go. We know you're busy, so we've made it easy for you to enjoy your own customized playlist of engaging, authentic, and original content. TNC is your passport to a world of Filipino talent, global influencers, cultural intelligence, and ingenuity. One of our most exciting shows is the Disruptors Hour, airing every Thursday 10:30 a.m. Philippine Standard Time, which covers everything from leadership to transformation, change management, and of course disruption, all curated with our viewers in mind. And the best part, you can watch our life-changing show anytime, anywhere, live or on replay via Facebook or YouTube. Follow us on IG, listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just search hashtag TNC Now. We're always looking for new partnerships and sponsorships. So if you're interested in working with us, please email now at thenewchannel.com or send us a DM. We're excited to see what we can achieve together. So earlier, we were chatting with attorney Gino Jacinto of Unawa, a tech startup, and they are helping companies and organizations digitize their processes. So let's welcome back Attorney Gino. Hello, Attorney Gino. Welcome once again. All right. So
Happy
you
to be here.
mentioned you share that Unawa is helping it easier for organizations to store and then retrieve also their important documents. So far, what have your clients experienced after partnering with Unawa? Any success stories that you can share with us?
Yes, of course. For the most part, we like our product to speak for itself. So generally, for those who haven't subscribed or used to it, please do so. I'm happy to say that one of our flagship products, Sign Secure, our electronic signature system, is available for free for
Mm-hmm.
anyone to use. Because one of the pushes of Anawa is really the drive to mass adoption of this digitization. But back to your question. So as I mentioned, one of our products, which we call Forma, is all focused about digitization of your document library. And one of the
Mm-hmm.
important factors what we're able to do is to have a facility that lets you digitize your very extensive physical library in a very convenient way, not just for storage. So
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, when people think digitization, they just think it's transposing their physical document onto device, be it a hard drive, a server, or the cloud. For the most part, the other products out there, other platforms out there allow for simple storage. However,
Mm-hmm.
realizing that that's not enough, Unawa built a system so that you can essentially digitize your entire document library, making them searchable, accessible, just like you would throughout the internet. So you are now creating your own mini internet with the data of your own company within our system, making searching in particular more important, much more convenient. And again, something I really have to focus on, that security, that your digital document is in
Mm.
fact an authentic version, an authentic duplicate version of your original that will have the same legal binding effect as the original due to all
Mm.
the measures we have put in place.
Mm. Beautiful. It's beautiful that um, you have security features to ensure prevention of fraud and or forgery. It's also beautiful that it's easily retrievable, the stored documents. Now, you also mentioned that you allow integration for existing systems that companies and organizations are already using for seamless implementation. After that, I'm curious, what is the ongoing support that Unawa offer after the initial implementation?
Well, support exists throughout the lifespan of our contract for our enterprise
Mhm.
clients. We're available essentially, well, I'm not going to say 24/7.
Mhm.
We obviously want to give our people a little bit of a break, but for the most part, we are very easily accessible. But importantly, I think something that I'd like to highlight with Unawa in terms of support, especially with regarding to our electronic signature tool,
Mhm.
is that should your document ever be called into question, should the signing ever be called into question in court, and I believe unfortunately this is something generally overlooked by other
Mhm.
providers, we are ready and able, obviously being founded by a law firm, being with lawyers as a member. We focus on the legal enforceability. So we are prepared to testify in court of how the system works, the authenticity of the signature, in all aspects moving forward. So we don't just stop at the signing for that matter. We are full
Mhm.
service in that sense, that we are able to back our technology and help you or any of our clients along the way with whatever needs they have related to our platform.
Mhm. Mhm. All right. Thank you for sharing that. So,
Absolutely.
do you have any other projects? So you have the Forma, you have the secure sign in. Any other projects in the pipeline, or are you already allowed to share?
We do have a few other items on the pipeline. Particularly, this might not generally necessary for the normal Filipino. It's only, I guess, a select few of enterprises that need it. We do have AMLA tools to do fact checking and personality checking for certain individuals. This is very helpful for banks, real estate companies, law firms. In fact, we also have
Mhm.
technologies which we call SafeForm. SafeForm is a system that allows you to digitize dynamic documentation so that the filling up and the implementation of these documents are now automated, so much so
Mhm.
that you're able to forget about the more popular, I don't want to say the names, but the more popular document creation platforms out there. Because one of our goals, obviously, and I think you and many of your viewers will be able to relate, that especially for those who are very technology based,
Mhm.
who for perhaps the work from home, we have so many platforms now. You have so many subscriptions. You have to subscribe
Yes.
to this, to this, to that. It gets quite confusing and not to mention costly. So we try to unify that in one system. So anything focusing on your document lifecycle for your enterprise can be achieved by one
Mhm.
subscription, by one plan through our platform. But again, as not to be too disruptive of your system's workflow,
Mhm.
we are still able to integrate with what you already have, with the ultimate goal of showing that it is possible to do a complete transition into one platform, which again, in this day and age, it's very practical to take into account these cost saving
Mhm.
measures rather than constantly spending. And more in particular, most of these platforms are dollar based. So with the
Mhm.
fluctuation of the dollar, your budget is going to be skewed. We, as a Filipino company, we keep everything as Filipino as possible. Even our billing is based on the Philippine peso, as opposed to other platforms that are in
Mhm.
dollars, which
Mhm.
could go up and down. So your budget will
Mhm.
be very much affected.
Mhm. I'm so excited for Unawa because
Thank you.
I'm glad that we finally have this one solution, and it is created by Filipinos like yourself. And this is about time. I feel that it's high time that we have a solution like this. You mentioned about Unawa also employing AI, with many talks about possibility of AI being rogue. I'm pretty sure that Unawa is also yeah is also making sure that we have guardrails, right? We made sure that the AI being employed by Unawa is also safe, remains safe.
Yes, this gets asked a lot, obviously. So, with the advent of artificial intelligence now, obviously, a lot of comparisons are being made to the more fictional aspects of the technology. For whatever it's worth, I'm I'm not discounting the possibility. Of course, that has come to mind. It is asked quite often, but for the most part, the AI implications and features used by Unawa is really more to facilitate the ease of use for our users.
Mhm.
It doesn't replace the need for the individual to take part in the system. It just modifies
Mhm.
the involvement necessary. So at least with our in our space and how we're using artificial intelligence, I don't think there's a worry of it going rogue or staging an uprising.
Yeah, so we will not be seeing iRobot or Terminator series like
uh,
scenario.
Probably not from us, at least.
All right. So we know the legal tech where Unawa plays in is an evolving field. And you mentioned earlier that some of the challenges that entrepreneurs has to overcome is the fear of change. So how tech entrepreneurs like yourself keep abreast in this dynamic and ever evolving environment aside from embracing change?
Yeah, so yes, you're very right. Oftentimes, when an individual or a company tries to pioneer an aspect of business, especially when it's generally unheard of, or let's limit it to the Philippine setting, where we're still
Mhm.
very manual and paper based, this change to digitization does come with some apprehension. Obviously,
Mhm.
people are worried about the security, the legality, and the effectiveness of the system. Oftentimes,
Mhm.
when you say technology, when you say startups, when you say something new, another aspect that comes into mind is the cost. Like, oh,
Mhm.
this is a high tech system. This is going to be expensive. It's going to be hard to learn. So these are the roadblocks we often meet in Unawa. But for the most part, we let the technology speak for itself. Once given the chance to present and use the system, it really
Mhm.
does do what it's supposed to do, making things much more convenient. And
Yes.
again, despite the seemingly, well, I'm not going to say high because we really do keep our prices very low because our goal, especially here in the Philippines, is mass adoption.
Mhm.
When they see the price, they think that this one-time payment might be a bit off budget, but if broken down, it is much cheaper. It is
Mhm.
much cheaper than the current practice of having paper, storing paper, retrieving paper. Imagine,
Mhm.
let's say, if we didn't have systems like this, and we were
Mhm.
signing a contract using Grab, having it sent. If you have 10 signatories to a document, you can imagine the time delay that will
Yes.
have. It could take days. It could literally take days. If you have multiple parties, it could go even goes a week. If an individual is not in the country, it could take months. And not to
Mhm.
mention, and I don't mean to sound corny or trying to sound trendy, but the environmental impact is quite large. Your carbon footprint is drastically increased by your use of paper in all
Mhm.
aspects. So that's
Mhm.
something that we really should look into. Again, the video you showed at the start of the show really resonated with me as well. It's like I want to work with this organization now. I felt like we put some orange in that video. It almost looked like an
Mhm.
Unawa clip as well. So we share the same ethos. We share the same goals in that aspect.
Mhm. If it saves you time, saves you money, effort, and also uh, it saves the environment, then it shouldn't be counted as a cost. Personally speaking, I feel
Absolutely.
it's an
Ah, that's
investment.
very well put. Absolutely, I agree.
Mhm.
It shouldn't be counted as a cost. I'm going to put that in our decks now, and I'm going to quote Miss Jennifer. It's not a cost.
No, it's not. Yes, definitely a good investment, not only for the current times, but for the future. We always have to think There's this one article that I read about 7 generation leaders. It comes from the indigenous traditions. It encourages us to think of our actions affecting 7 generations down the line.
Yep, that's a very good way to look at things.
Yes, so I'm pretty sure that Unawa will not only benefit the present generation, but the generations to come.
Yeah, that's the goal as well. I've never framed it in that way to think 7 generations ahead. Oftentimes, you always say, think of your kids, think of your grandkids. Never has it come to mind that absolutely you have to think of your great, 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 great grandkids as well. So you're very right in saying things like that.
Yeah. And that's the reason why we have the Disruptors Hour, because we want people like yourself, other disruptors, transformational leaders, bring out their work to the open so that more people in your tribe who are looking for such solutions to get to know you and get to connect you. And with that, how can our viewers continue conversation with you and learn more about the work that you do, Gino?
Oh, well, if you do want to continue conversations with us and learn more about Unawa, I would very humbly and politely direct you to, there you go, unawa.asia. All information updates are housed there. All of our products are housed there as well. And all links to our social media, so if you're the type, all the way to threads, is on unawa.asia.
Wow, you're already on Threads. I'm not so
Eh,
trendy at all. I'm not yet
the
on
company
Threads.
is. The company is. I am not.
All
I'm
right.
not even on Twitter.
Thank you for clarifying that. So it's been great to have you with us, Gina. Thank you very much for spending your Thursday morning with us. Thank you for choosing to be a part of our community of key opinion leaders and change makers. I'm sure that our viewers have been inspired and empowered to lead with purpose, drive with impact, and embrace transformation with agility. Coming from our conversation, from listening to our conversation today. I look forward to seeing more of your work in the
Thank you,
future.
Jennifer.
Dear viewers, thank you so much for being here with us. See you next Thursday, August 17, 2023, 10:30 a.m. Philippine Standard Time. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are in the world. God bless everyone.